Hold on to that. Oh, that's the, sorry. It was that, okay. Yeah, we're good, but let me start this. There we go, right here. Okay, now we're on.
Calling order the session. Before we go into our official city council meeting, we have on our agenda tonight two public hearings, and I will call those in order. The first one is for a public hearing on ordinance 2026-16, an ordinance enacting a new subsection of our 1272.01 of the code. They are requirements regarding parking spaces, parking lots of the Pepper Pike ordinances. Is anyone here particularly because you want to make comments or address that issue? Not hearing anything, we'll close that public hearing. Our next public hearing is regarding ordinance 2026-17. It is an ordinance amending certain provisions of chapter 1280 dealing with fences of the codified ordinances of the city of Pepper Pike. Is there anyone here this evening with a desire to address that? Not hearing anything, we will close that public hearing. Now we will call to order the July 15th council meeting of the city of Pepper Pike. Please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Ms. Swords? Here. Mr. Bowman?
Here.
Ms. Godek? Here. Mr. LeMay?
Here.
Mr. Gentile?
Here.
Colonel Rice?
Here.
Mayor Bain?
I am. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first agenda item this evening is in audience comments. I would observe that at the suggestion of a resident and Ms. Godek's request that we take a whack at this idea, that we've added a second audience comments at the end of the meeting, and we'll play it by ear and see how everything works out. So for our first round of audience comments, is there anyone who wants to say anything?
Yes. Richard Ferguson, 29200 Ipsdale Road. I have two comments. First one is kudos to the city and the community members for the 4th of July parade. It was a hot day, but a lot of folks walked. There was a classic car, and there was a lot of spectators, so it really was a good event. My second comment regards the proposed ordinance 2026-23 garage floors, and going from 1,000 square feet to 2,400 square feet. The typical two-car garage is 500 square feet. So the current ordinance would be a 4-car garage. The new ordinance would be like a 9-car garage. So, and the new ordinance is the size of a regulation tennis court. So it's going to be huge. That's what counts.
We can discuss it later, but I think your measurement that you were citing or not, what is the site or standard. We can get to that later. Yes.
Grace Barber, 33,000 Shaker Boulevard. My comments are regarding City Hall renovations and accessibility. First, I want to say accessibility has many different forms, but it's not limited to handicapped people, people in wheelchairs, canes. It could be a parent with a stroller and a child, it's a temporary injury, ear replacement, hip replacement, and so on. I'm asking the administration and council to reconsider the minimal expense of relocating the current bathrooms to an adjacent location in the new addition. This improved accessibility will allow handicapped residents access to the bathrooms without having to use the elevator. I'm grateful for the ADA compliant updates included in the required renovations. I'd like the improvements to be reconsidered. Like we have done additional improvements to the Gates Mills Trail. We could just basically have a trail, but we've done added landscaping, signs. I hope you will reconsider and help those people that really need a closer access point. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Sorry, can I ask a quick question? I didn't follow the trails. What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying, basically the Gates Mills Trails, we put a path in, but we unified that with landscape architecture and additional landscape there. We put signage in, benches in. We should be able to do addition, even though we're meeting the ADA requirements because you're making changes to a building. We should be able to make the access a little bit closer and better, even if it's at an additional cost to the city. I mean,
So I believe, Grace, you're asking if we might go above and beyond
the basic
just
access
the
is one
ADA,
thing.
just the ADA requirements and be more accommodating to the disabled people.
For
And I
City
think
Hall.
For the
Here
city hall
at City
renovations,
Hall,
I'm
here
just
at
saying,
City
we've
Hall.
made additional,
Just like we did in the park, we
Updates.
went on next to the path.
you're
also
asking a handicapped
landscape.
resident to, or any resident who needs help and has to use the elevator, you're asking them to get in the elevator, close the elevator, get out of the elevator, walk, and it's not that far of a distance, but to walk down to the bathroom, get into the bathroom, there's immediate need. I mean, that's a lot. If you're asking a parent with a child in a stroller and a toddler carrying along, getting them in. So it's not just only handicap. I think we should be able to do something better and above than just checking the box.
And if I might also dissect that for Grace, I think that it's not just an issue of distance, it's the change in elevation.
Yes, because they have to use an elevator to get to the bathroom, I guess on this floor for the plans.
Well, there's also going to be an elevator, a bathroom right below, almost right below the elevator. So you come out the elevator and it's right outside the community room downstairs. So you can go up and then walk down the hall, or you can go down and come out and the bathroom's going to be right in front of you.
But that
Perfect.
doesn't
So
help
just
on this street.
Speaking on Grace's behalf, just dissecting it, it's, one issue is the distance, the other issue is that you actually have to get in an elevator to get to the restroom.
Either way, yes.
Okay.
So is there something that could be done so someone didn't have to get in an elevator to get?
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Not hearing anything else, we'll move on. Committees and department heads, committees to report.
All right, the Road Infrastructure Committee met Monday. All members were there. We had a very good brief from Paul Deutsch from Bialowski on City Hall renovations planning update. So it's moving right along. Kind of the way ahead is he will turn it over to his team of estimators probably this week. So they will have a good month to put costs on every single piece that's going in there. So our next meeting of the Road Infrastructure Committee will be on August 17th, and he will come brief that committee again on the total costs and all of the items that will be on the list. Our plan will be either to take that and put it in front of council the 19th or the 26th, and at least get you, it won't be a decision brief, it'll get you a lot of information on costs, so everybody can take probably a good month or so to digest that. And I talked to the mayor, and we would anticipate that going for some sort of voting or approval, probably in September or October, so.
Where does are we doing like town halls and public comment? And-
Well, that's one thing we can talk about, but
Okay.
as I said before, the Road and Infrastructure Committee meetings are open to anybody, and we take comments, and we had some people there this time.
Okay.
So, they're open to everybody on council, they're open to all of our residents, so. I'm open to a town hall, but I'm not sure.
I mean, I do feel like there
Yes.
needs to be something in an evening or weekend that specifically, I don't know if he would be, it would make sense for him to come, make the presentation.
I'm sure he'd be willing to do that.
And take community input, before we actually approve.
That's why I'm saying
Next
September,
step.
October timeframe.
And to help disseminate information
Yeah.
about it, what we discussed was also at the ice cream social. We're gonna have a
Great.
booth set up with posters,
Poster boards and.
maybe if we can do it electronically, sort of a rolling 3D conceptual that flies you through the building so you can see what it would be. Just put that on a loop.
That's
So-
perfect, because I think that gets an audience that isn't necessarily gonna be as likely to show to
Right.
a traditional
We get
town hall.
500-600 people at the
Yeah.
ice cream social. So I think it would be good.
What Eric and I talked about was not just Paul Deutsch, but one of us manning the booth to answer questions, council members to answer questions on it.
Great.
All right, next thing we did was talk about sewer projects and grants and update, and I'm gonna not steal Don's thunder because he did a great job, and I'm gonna turn that over to Don.
Thanks. Just briefly, we have the Belgrade project that the city's communicated with those residents as far as the estimated assessment. If all goes according to plan, we'll be bidding that out here in the next month or so. And if there is an assessment equalization work that will delay fall construction, should be within the start of Belgrade. Southwest quadrant, that those plans are underway. We're looking to go through the assessment project this fall and likely build that winter for spring construction next year. The Lander Pump Station project by Ursuline College, we submitted to the sewer district for a grant for that. And we also submitted a grant for a few various locations, Entry and Summit, and a couple other small streets for the design portion. For our grant for sewers.
Okay, next we did an intersections study update about 3 months ago. You'll recall, maybe 4 months, we gave Don and his team a laundry list of troubled intersections. He had some. Eric was really the leader of that on the committee, and Eric added some to it. And Don took that and gave us a very, very good update the other day. Some really interesting things coming out of that, and a lot of it's going to be tied to the trails and adding crosswalks, paint signs in many cases, and also rerouting Belgrave and Kersdale, so we lose that 5-way intersection at Kersdale, South Woodland, Brainerd, that mix that comes together with 3-4 stop signs. You stop twice to try and cross. So we're going to take the access to South Woodland / Fairmont or Fairmont / Brainerd away from Belgrave, and Belgrave will turn and move on to Kersdale, and it'll really become a real 4-way stop, and people will get closer to the intersection. They'll move the stop signs. He's doing that as part of the trail project, so that's a good news story. We've had multiple discussions about e-bike use and policy discussions. We think after looking hard at it, we think there's enough policy out there on e-bikes and regulations and safety. But what we think is we need to get the word out a little bit better. So Eric and the communications committee is going to take that on to disseminate. I call it plain language, not in ordinance form, but plain language to get people better informed about e-bike use and safety. Then we talked about flooding on Chestnut, and this was really, it was actually a great discussion, and it was a great process event because it started for me with an email from Alyssa to me from a resident with video of flooding on Chestnut. So I told her I would put it on the agenda. We had the service department, the engineer here, and the service department had cleared the stormwater drains a couple of times during some really severe flooding. But what happened in that, the service department said, okay, we're going to raise our hand and we're going to put that on the sweeping cycle to keep the drains clear. And then Don came on and said, well, we're also going to put a secondary beehive sewer or a stormwater drain right across from the current stormwater drain that's not in the street, that won't get as much debris, and we'll be able to take the overflow flooding. So this is really I was really excited because this is a process where somebody brings up something from the community, it goes to a council member, to a committee, and right over to the staff, and great action from the whole team. So that was an exciting one. 2026 trails update. Two sets of trails are out for bid right now. Brainerd Road from Shaker Circle down to Kersdale, and then Fairmont from Brainerd to Butternut. So that's exciting, and hopefully those close out this week, and hopefully Don will have those to us to vote on and approve next week. Then we talked about the 2027 trails to plan, and that will be, some of that will be based on how the sewer work goes, especially on South Woodland. So if we get South Woodland done with sewers next year, then trails can go on South Woodland for the western half next year. And Don is also going to look at including the trails into the sewer project and see if that's economical and possible from a design and build. So if he can knock out two birds at once. So he's going to work on that. So that's exciting. Pine Tree's going to be a while until we get the sewers done. So I'll look right at you, Alyssa. But what I asked him specifically to design and look at trails from Cedarwood down Cedar to Gates Mills Boulevard to the Gates Mills Trail 2, because we know people from Cedarwood and Cedar Lakes are going to walk on the road, and it's very dangerous to get to the trail. So we know that's going to happen. So he's going to look at a couple options. Do we put in a full sidewalk trail, which will also mean probably curb and gutter and probably stormwater, or can we move it and just go with the asphalt trail and move it back and work with the residents? So he's got a couple options on that. And then Eric Schmidt came up with a really good idea, and this is an add-on that we've never talked about. We're calling it the Connectors Trails. So at Fairmont, Shaker, South Woodland, there's four of them.
Well,
Shaker.
two Shaker.
Two on Shaker. So what we want to do is where our trails stop is take our trails all the way to 271 and then go underneath and then ask Beechwood to bring theirs over, because a couple there stop, 100 feet short of the 271, that concrete ramp underneath. So Don and team and the mayor will work with people from Beechwood, and we'll work on our end, but it's not very far and it's not going to be that expensive, because it's just kind of finishing off to be good neighbors and really more connectivity with the suburbs. So
And we heard that from people as a suggestion, right? Like,
Yep.
It makes so much sense.
it makes a lot of sense, especially because one of the things that really sold a lot of people on the Brainerd area was the neighborhoods that have folks that like to walk the temple. There'll be Beechwood people that will walk the temple this way, and now that we're to connect it all. So that's a really good one. So Don's going to work on those, and that's all I have. But I just want to point out that we have loaded a lot on Don and his team, and they are really doing well. And they're really kicking it. You just look at the amount of money that road infrastructure is spending to the council, proposing to the council, and it's a lot more than it's ever been. And his team is stepping right up, planning, engineering, contracting, design, the whole bit. So that's off to his team and the great work they're doing. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Tom. One thing that I would add to the discussion is it didn't come up at infrastructure, so I don't forget. We are, of course, also looking at the Chagrin Lander reconfiguration of the circle.
Yes.
And as part of that, I've had discussions with the mayor of Orange, who would like to work with us to make a connection between our walkways and the Orange Village walkways. So that's something that's not immediate for us by any means, but so far as connectivity to other communities, that's also out there.
We put Lander Circle on the shelf to let the staff do some work, and we're gonna put it back on the agenda for the next meeting, which again is 0800 in here on August 17th.
Hey, Colonel, how do we get more info on the intersection changes that will be coming?
So I think, can you send that brief out to council?
Yeah, we're gonna get that posted on the website too. We're doing some reconfiguration of the website so far as getting those GIS maps published, as well as guidance presentation regarding intersections, so that it's at least publicly available. Okay,
No, I'm done.
thank you. Alyssa, you have muted.
Yeah, the communications committee met on Monday. We had all of our members there. A few things we talked about is one, there's a resident, a rising junior in Pepper Pike that had reached out saying, hey, I know social media, I'd like to get involved. Is there any sort of like intern opportunity that I could do? So part of what we talked about is how we could best utilize that for both his benefit as a learning opportunity and then for us as a city. So we're proposing with him like a 6-week internship. First would be focused on between now and the ice cream social, what kind of communication would we want regarding like e-bike safety, bike safety, all that stuff, and basically leading up to the event, how could we promote that and then maybe use the event to supplement, and then the remainder of his time we're thinking will be used for basically taking information that's historically in the Pepper Pike Post and figuring out what would that look like in a different digital form, like if this were a social media post on a certain platform. So I've spoken with him today. He's definitely still interested. We're moving through that. I have some like logistical things I think we need to figure out with the administration. But it seems like a win-win in my opinion. So that kind of covers some of the biking, walking safety that we've talked about. We also did discuss how we better communicate the importance of contractor registration to residents. So there's one side of like, yes, they need to be registered, but what the committee noted is that residents may not know like what the benefit is of the registration, and this actually goes back to the Pepper Pike Post because this information is in there, but maybe it's getting overlooked, maybe there's other ways to get it out, so that was the other conversation. And then really the biggest part of our meeting was related to the survey findings that we sent out to the administration, to council, to residents. We got so many responses that we hit our quota on resident responses, so we had to like upgrade our plan to accept more. So I think it was a wonderful problem to have, and the general themes we're seeing are that there seems to be a preference for email for anything that's not time sensitive. For time sensitive type things, more utilizing text, and then as kind of a third option, if you are trying to self-serve information on the website, it should be easy to find and consistent with maybe other communications you've received. So we're taking all of that to kind of lay out a plan for ultimately the recommendation to the city as far as if there's a potential opportunity for staffing there. And I think, yeah, that's the big stuff. I'll end it there.
Okay, thank you. I'm excited that this young man has reached out. We had some great benefit from a rising junior during the centennial year, Charlie Martin, helping us with our organization of data and things for the centennial. And so why a 16-year-old would have any insights or response to how social media works, I don't understand that. I think it will really benefit.
It's gonna be good.
All right. Anyone else?
Committee, City Futures Met. I'm gonna hear a brief so we can put it on TV next time, but we had one question that maybe you can help give us insight on. Has there ever been a study or a master plan ever done for Pepper Pike in our district?
Yes.
When was the last
Well,
time?
It's not for the entire city.
Sure. On whatever scope.
I don't know for the entire city,
Okay.
actually. I know we've had different types of iterations of master plans. There was a master plan for this municipal campus. That would have been back in 2010. 10? Yeah. Right around there.
29,
Yeah, sometime in that period. There have been tree plans in the past, and I'm sure there
Oh,
are
different,
other iterations of stuff.
different subject areas.
Yeah, we have plans, we have 5-year rolling plans for our infrastructure, things like the streets. That's a I would characterize that as a strategic plan or street maintenance program. I think we have a variety.
Were you planning that last night? Did you forget? No. Teasing. But nothing really happened. We had one variance request, but it should have been 2 variance requests, and it was noticed not correctly because of that. So it'll be on the agenda again at the meeting next month, which is just in a couple weeks.
Okay, I think that's all the committees, department heads. Chief?
Yeah, we finished our hiring process, and hired a U.S. Air Force veteran. He passed everything with flying colors, and he already started the academy this week. So it's going to be 6 months, but hopefully at the beginning of next year we'll have him in the FTO program.
Sorry, he's not a Marine colonel, but he's a solid guy.
veteran.
Thank you, Chief. We have in service, the chief left out our brand new shiny Jeep
Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Right.
That's in the garage, waiting to be detailed out. So thanks, Chief, again.
It should be ready before the school year starts.
Anything service engineering, you basically reported?
Yeah, just real quick, we did start the water main on Trillium Trail,
Oh, great.
and the line broke yesterday already, so the old line, so.
The old line.
Right, but just in time, so. Our contractor fixed the break on the existing line.
But the new line's going down the other side of the street.
It's on the other side of the street,
So it's not like the contractor broke the line.
No, it just gave way, they had to turn some valves on and off in that process on the old line.
All right, well, good. Do they have a sort of PTA when that thing's gonna be in?
Oh, it's a couple weeks to do the install for the, and then the restoration. And the testing and restoration.
Does that line ultimately feed the Landerwood Swim Club? Same line? Or don't you may not.
Only if it's got a connection. It doesn't have like a dedicated big line. There's a domestic connection.
The contractor working on the existing line, that bill should be sent to people in water.
They're actually paying for the whole thing, so we're just gonna get to the tabs. And we do have 2 bids opening. As Councilman Rice mentioned, those will be up on Friday. Hopefully we'll have some results back to the board on those 2 sections of trail. We have 2 more sections that
Excited to hear things moving. Service did mention to me that we're already looking at stripping for one of the streets this summer.
Getting quotes for the street.
So that should be coming up. Brighten up our roadways and make them safe.
Don, is Cedar Road still planned for August?
The contractor is gonna start in August, as of right now, so that's the thought. They will start to work sometime in August.
Anything else? Good. We will move on then to our first ordinance. It's ordinance 2026-16. This is what we had a public hearing about earlier. This is on for second reading tonight. This deals with the parking issues on lawns that we're trying to give the police and the building department some teeth so far as dealing with that. So is there anything more that council has in the way of questions regarding that, given the robust public discussion that we had?
Yeah, there's no, I thought we were gonna think about building in the exception for houses under construction or, so it's not, I mean, there are circumstances in which you need to park your car not on your driveway. And I thought we were gonna build in episodic or, you know, something so that we know we're not gonna enforce this all the time, because there's good reason. Sometimes, you need to park on your grass.
Okay, well, the way you phrase it now, it hit me differently than the way maybe the discussion went last time. Maybe, Steve, can we put into it, we can vote on it next week now, something that provides, I don't know if we're building a police, some discretion upon application to building or police, some avoidance of the requirement or some permission to, park otherwise.
If there's a single event, let's imagine that there's a party and summertime, people park on the grass temporarily. By the time you'd ever issue a notice saying, move your car off the grass, the event's gonna be over.
No, I'm not talking about giving them a notice, that sort of notice. I'm talking about,
The more permanent.
no. I'm saying if someone's having the
Thanksgiving dinner.
wedding, they're having the wedding, and they know, gee, I'm gonna have to put some cars on my lawn, there's not enough street parking. Can we build it in so that someone can just notify the police and say, this is happening, have some person put an imprimatur on it, this is blessed, and then no one has to worry about, gee, was it, random, was permission given for this, just to sort of create an official awareness of the city and maybe a relief to a resident that I'm not getting tagged for anything.
I don't love
That's
that.
all.
I don't love that because I think that we respect our building department and police department to use discretion in their enforcement of our ordinances. And with that, you're putting a burden on residents that I guarantee you no one is going to even know about, that they have to contact the city to
You
say.
just swung me all the way
right?
back over.
I mean, who's gonna know that we have a prohibition
Right,
on
right.
parking and you need to contact to get permission, and if you're having a party, it's the last thing you wanna do.
Well, but this leaves no, we know we're passing ordinance, we know we're gonna make exceptions.
To me, I think of it as like a speed limit, police have discretion in enforcing the speed limit, all of us speed from time to time, and we don't get pulled over. I understand what you're saying, but there's discretion built into every single ordinance on the books.
And I was making the point that if it's a one-off,
Right.
it's not gonna be a problem, because by the time you give notice
Yeah.
saying you're not supposed to be doing that, as we always do, there's always notice given of a violation before any citation is written. The event's gonna be over. And if it's a more permanent issue, again, there's discretion. If there's no place else on the lot to park and we want the car off the street, there's discretion on the enforcement officer to say, no, this is, we know that this is gonna happen for the period of time that the driveway's under construction or whatever, reconstruction or whatever. As a practical matter, I think those kinds of issues take care of themselves without having an explicit, unless you call us and we say it's okay, with no standard for when that's.
As a practical issue, most people, if their driveway's being redone, a lot of times people do call the police and say, we're gonna be on the street all night because we can't. Tony?
That was the point I wanted to make. This is analogous to notifying the police that you need to park on the street because your driveway is being blacktop, except the reverse. And maybe I was the only one that did it. But every time I have my driveway blacktop, you go online and you notify the police that you need to park on the street. And I think you have a 3-day limit, which can be extended. And you tell them what the license numbers are of the cars, and no less no fuss. It's not a thing.
That happens all the time.
It's not a thing. I'm agreeing with your point of view that notice to the police department should be an easy thing.
Is there a middle ground where you don't have to put language on the process? You can just write something like, I don't know, right? But the intent of this ordinance is to prohibit these things.
Well, I don't think you need to build in due process into the ordinance. It's required that you give a notice, an opportunity to correct, and then only if it doesn't happen, the way you come back and cite. So that's built into the law, and we don't need to add anything to the code to provide.
The problem that you run into, what we don't want to run into is we start listing things in the ordinance. Do we have to list birthday party? Do we have to list graduation party? Do we have to list wedding? And it's, what I'm trying to get with this is that for 9 years, I never had any issues. This past year, I had 3 issues, and it was all complaint driven for people who just chose not to use their driveway on a continuous basis. And they were creating tire ruts in their property, and it looked terrible. That's what this ordinance is addressing. The one-offs, like Steven said, if somebody has a party over the weekend, by the time we get in on Monday and get that complaint, it's gone. It's those people who just say, I don't want to use my driveway anymore. It's easier for me to park on the grass. And that's what we're going after.
Chief has something to add.
No, I was just gonna say, it really just gives us the ability to enforce it at all. And I can't think of a single time other than, domestic violence case where somebody's surprised that we're there issuing them a citation. Usually there's multiple discussions, multiple warnings, maybe even, a month or 2 worth of discussions like that. So it just gives us the ability to do anything at this point.
So Jackie, last time we had this in front of us, we kicked it to the planning commission. What do they say?
We had a very similar conversation and ended up basically agreeing that we should leave the discretion to the building department, the police department. Just,
That's where I'm at.
I think that trying to frame the ordinance in a way to encompass, it's kind of like one of those common sense things. Like, we all know what this is trying to accomplish. That is how the ordinance is intending to be used. If, something goes haywire and people start getting excited left and right and taken by surprise, which doesn't sound like it can happen, then we revisit. But this is, again, for the habitual.
The vast majority of the time,
violations.
somebody, the police or building will get asked the question, where does it say that I can't park on the grass? Now you have something to point to, it's right there. And that usually resolves the issue. I don't know if we've had a recent example of that in another context where you say, you can't do this. This is not consistent with Upper Pike standards.
I'm persuaded personally by Ms. Godek's comment. I think you're right. I don't like the idea of burying. I understand Mr. LeMay's sentiment. I'm hesitant about burying this permission standard into the ordinance as opposed to just allowing our building and police in their ordinary course exercising the same discretion in a narrow enforcement issue like they do for traffic and all sorts of things.
So is the current ordinance that we're gonna vote on either tonight or next week, is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, that it's written as, sounds like a
We haven't
consensus.
seen one in a while.
No, it's
Pretty
in
sure.
my packet.
Yeah,
Oh, this one does that.
No.
No.
Not the-
2026-16.
It hasn't changed.
It hasn't
No.
changed since whenever
No.
it was first sent out. I don't
This
think.
is when I looked through, I scrolled through, it's been a while.
No,
It wasn't sent out
It
again.
wasn't sent out, you're right. I had asked for it separately.
Because I looked through my emails to see, and I
No, I
got
did not
the other
resend it.
one.
It has not changed.
I guess we save some trees. We could.
No, I'm totally good with that, just tell me which date that it went out, and I'll look it up for you.
April 17th.
April 17th.
Send it to you right now.
Yeah, that'd be very good.
I mean, does this need more discussion? It's pretty straightforward.
I do.
Not recommended.
We can, everyone can get comfortable with it. If they can pull up the look, we can pass it tonight.
I have it, I can throw
you
it up
send
on
it?
the screen. Do everybody want to see it up on the screen? Or do you see it?
I'm not finding it. I might have.
I just sent it to you about.
Did you?
Okay.
Do you want it up on the screen?
No, I'm good. As soon as there we go. I got it now. So that's exactly. I'm good. I don't make a motion to suspend.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Ms. Swords?
Yes.
Mr. Bodie?
Yes.
Ms. Godin?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentile? Colonel Rice?
Yes.
Okay, we entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Not hearing any, roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Ms. Swords?
Yes.
Mr. Bodie?
Yes.
Ms. Godin?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Colonel Rice?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to our topic of our second public hearing today, which is ordinance 2026-23. This is the ordinance amending subsection,
Hang on,
oh, pardon me, 17, I apologize. 17, amending provisions of chapter 1280 dealing with fences. Is there any, this was also heard from the planning commission. The planning commission supported it. And we had our public hearing today, so it's back to council. Is there any further discussion you wish to have about this ordinance?
And I just reiterate, this is just gonna really streamline a lot of the ABR meetings, right?
This
That is where
will
it is.
absolutely streamline ABR meetings.
Can we recap it? This one I could not find.
I just saw it looking for it again.
It wasn't sent out.
Listen, I'm sending it to you guys again. It's from,
No. That's
it's from May 15th, from May. You can just search 2026-17 and it'll come up.
So, but my question, this is for side yards on corner lots. What happens? I'm concerned of having a big wall of wood.
Correct, yeah.
right
So
on
on,
the street.
on corner lots, anyone that resides on a corner lot and has a fence application, that will still go to the architectural board of review.
And where is that built in here? I looked for it just now, I couldn't find it.
It says front yard fencing other than what is permitted in section 1280.03 and fencing installed on
Where
corner
are you reading?
from ordinance 2026-17.
20.02D.
Okay,
The second sentence is front yard fencing other than what is permitted under 1280.03, and fencing installed on corner lots shall be submitted to the architectural board of review for approval. So this removes the exemption for architectural board review approval.
okay.
Does not exist for corner lots and for front yard fences. Just side and rear.
So
Is that the
that,
answer?
but,
That's a good question. Is the impetus of this
So,
to just streamline the process?
yes, because
Yeah.
the process is essentially administrative.
Yeah, the code is so specific on what you can do in side and rear yard fences that every fence company that submits an application meets that requirement. And so basically, when it goes to the architectural board of review, it's basically a rubber stamp because those requirements are met.
And you're the enforcer of it.
Correct.
so just help me with that sentence, Steve, we're writing front yard fencing,
Front yard fencing,
other than what is permitted by 1280.03, which is Route 1.
fences in front yards.
This is front yard fencing,
Yeah.
other than what is permitted.
So right now, in front yards, you are permitted under the code to do a 2-rail, split rail fence. That's what is permitted. Sometimes people come in and say they want to do something other than a split rail fence. That requires architecture review board approval.
So there's two styles, one style that's pre-approved, and that's in 128003. That's only split rail, and what did you say?
Just split rail fence
Just split rail.
For the front yard.
for the front yard.
So front yard fencing, other one is permitted, okay. And fencing installed on the corner lots.
So regarding front yard, it streamlines a fraction of what could be, right?
Yeah, we don't get too many front yard installations that come. It's basically all rear and side yard is about 50% of every single architecture review board meeting.
And Steve, I don't have the ordinance, but this is section D. What is that? Is that
Well,
New section D.
some context?
yeah, it's permanent applications, plans and fees.
Okay,
So it describes the process by which an owner can apply to the building department
okay.
and get approval.
So side yard, and those are all, I haven't gone back and looked at those, so those are defined terms, side
Yes.
and rear yard fences. So the side yard needs to be behind the building line, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Always, so the back.
It's always
is your house.
behind, it's always behind, it's the side yard is the front face of the house and the rear face of the house. And then the rear face to the back is rear yard.
Is rear. So the fence has to be behind
Just behind the front face of the house.
the front face of the house, not the back face.
Correct.
And that's how we've always had that.
Yes.
So bottom line here, this is really straight up, gets rid of the architectural board review. And you're the authority.
It's an administrative process.
Got it.
I think we actually need another comma after 1280.0.
Oh, three, I put one in there, actually, that's funny you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think that's what needs to be.
that will clarify what that means.
So the idea will be front yard fencing, other than what's permitted in .03. And fencing installed on corner lot shall be submitted to the architectural board of review.
Or you can move the clause other than in front of it. Other than what is permitted, I don't know, but that's the one that relates to front yard fencing. though.
I think a simple comma is the easiest
Okay.
fix.
You got it fixed, all right.
Okay.
All right, I'll move to suspend.
Second.
I'd like to ask a question first.
Sure.
I'm not clear on exactly what this is doing.
This is what it's doing. And right now, all fence applications go before the APR. Even though it's administrative and they don't really have a say in doing it because it has to comply with the ordinances prescribed what the fence is.
So would a fence need,
What happens,
would a fence need a variance?
if it needs a variance, then they're not
Yeah.
gonna approve it. If they want to build a fence in the rear yard that's taller than permitted, for instance, that would require a variance. Then the building department can't just issue a permit for it.
What about the location of the fence vis-a-vis property lines? Does it say anything about that?
It's up to the property owner to define their property lines. I mean, the fence used to only be able to go up within 12 inches of the property line. Now it can go up to the property line, but it's still the property owner's responsibility or their contractor to stake out the property line.
And what's the remedy for somebody whose property is encroached upon after the fence is built?
That's a civil.
Yeah, what typically happens is the plans are submitted showing that the fence will be located on the property line. If a neighbor says it's not on the property line, that's between the parties. We've only approved the location of the fence on what was shown to be the property line. If the actual property line is different than what we were presented in the application process, the neighboring property owner would have to address that. We're not the court of law to determine, ownership interests.
So we don't opine on whether they're on the property line or not.
We make certain that it's built as proposed in the plans. That's our job.
That wasn't, that, I don't think that answered my question. We don't, if somebody says this is the property line, we accept that?
Yes, we don't survey it.
It's up to them. Ultimately, that's where quiet title actions end up in trying to debate where a property line is quite often.
So, seems like we might be inviting an issue between, by not doing anything by issue.
But that's regardless
Can I
of this
finish my
change, but that's
Finish my
regardless of
statement
this
before you
change.
interrupt me? It seems like we might be inviting a dispute between neighbors by not participating in any way.
We are participating, it's going, the ABR would only be ruling on the design, not, right? So like, whether or not we're surveying the property is a whole separate issue. Did you guys have any idea, do we have civil law, I mean, obviously they do occur. Do you have a sense if there's a spate of civil lawsuits regarding
It's
property lines
extreme.
and fences?
It occurs from time to time.
Yeah.
It's very infrequent.
Okay.
I mean, every permit that's issued for fences clearly states that it's the property owner's responsibility to verify. A lot of people will call us up and say, hey, I am putting a fence, I'm not exactly sure. We do recommend, get a line survey. Some people do it, but if they choose not to, that's on them.
And ultimately, if the neighbor's not bothered by it, okay. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're six inches over the property line and no one knows.
That's something that Frost was, good fences make good neighbors, but only if the fences are in the right places.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I think if we've been doing it, if we haven't been surveying the property lines for fences until now, and there's not a, significant issue, I don't know why we would start. I mean, like Paul said, we recommend surveyors.
Has there ever been an occasion when ABR has taken some action on this? Like, it comes before ABR for a rear yard fence and they've done something?
They've never denied a request.
Correct.
No.
Because it's literally administrative based upon what the text of the
The
ordinance
problem
is.
is it's a time sink. That's the efficiency we're talking
I'm
about,
just-
because it gets there, and just in the, hi, how are you, gee, what are you doing? And they start talking about the thing, all of a sudden you got 10 minutes of a meeting shot on one thing.
My question is, why was it this way originally? It's one, why were they,
I think that there is, when you put in an architectural board of review, you don't always think about where it's appropriate to have design review and where it is. So any structure is going to come in front of the architectural board of review. Every community that I represent that has an architectural board of review has taken this type of ordinance out of it because the design of the fence is implicit in what's permitted. It's specified in the zoning code, and there's no design discretion. It needs to be reviewed and saying, is this out of place? Is this going to impact the neighbors or whatever?
so as long as it's 6-foot open design, they're good. If they want to do something funky, they would still have to come to the.
Yes.
No, they'd have to go to planning commission if there's a variance. So
Put in a
EVA
chain link fence or something like that, yeah, okay.
Okay, so we have a motion pending to suspend, I believe. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt,
Yes.
Ms. Swords, Mr. Bowman,
Yes.
Ms. Godet,
Yes.
Mr. Lemay,
Yes.
Mr. Gentile. Colonel West.
Yes.
Is there a motion to adopt
So moved.
So moved.
And this is adopting with the additional
with the additional
comma
comment?
at the end of 1280.0.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Not hearing any, roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt,
Yes, but only if you put that comment in.
Ms. Swords, Mr. Moji,
Yes.
Ms. Godet,
Yes.
Mr. Lemay.
Yes.
Mr. Gentile.
Yes.
Colonel West.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Our next is a new matter in front of council. That's an old matter. This is something that was considered previously by city council, and we never really went forward on it. And it's something that we had something come up in front of the planning commission that sort of piqued interest of, well, why don't we at least get this council's attitude and response towards it? So we put it back on the docket for you. And that is to, is what Rich mentioned earlier. It's to amend the maximum garage floor area of section 127009. And we have Mr. Smerrigan here tonight, and I'd ask Mr. Smerrigan to describe what this does.
What it changes, right now you have just a flat standard, it's 1,000 square feet. And we have had a number of requests for variances because if you're trying to do, on some of the larger homes, you're trying to do a 4-car garage and you're trying to provide room for maybe your trash bin, also maybe for a riding lawnmower, it becomes very, very difficult. So what we are suggesting is to do a sliding scale where you would get 40%, that your garage could not exceed 40% of the house size. And so you have either 1,000 square feet or the 40% of the house size, whichever is the greater. So if you have a very small house, you still have the 1,000 square feet that you had before, so I'm not taking anything away from anybody. But if someone has a 6,000 square foot house, they're not limited to the 1,000 square foot garage. They can build a bigger garage that's in scale with their house. But we put a limit on it so that the 40%, it can never overpower the house. The house is always the principal structure on the property. And so that's the total garage space, whether it's attached, detached, or a combination. We have a number of those where people created a little court where they have an attached garage and a detached garage, and they have a little court in between, parking auto court. But that would provide some flexibility. Houses have been increasing in size in the community. And when we get the new houses, they struggle with 1,000 square feet. We've got quite a few requests that have come in front of us.
So, for instance, last evening at the planning commission, we had someone with what's really sort of a modest request regarding the garage. And it really didn't, in the end, it didn't affect the square footage issue. But bordering this house on either side, he has a 7,000 square foot house and an 8,000 square foot house. So he has extremely large homes on either side. Now, why a house of that size should be limited to what a house that's 2,500 square feet might have as a garage is not clear to me as to why we would want to impose on that much larger home the same garage requirement as we allow a smaller home, where 1,000 square foot garage on a 2,500 square foot home is a pretty significant percentage of what that home is. So the small guy gets to have this for his home, a rather significant garage, but the guy with the large home, well, the law is saying we're not going to allow you to do that. From the exterior, they have to go through the ABR with these things. It's not really apparent to the world that, within that garage, you don't have an interior wall that is, making the garage, X square feet instead of Y square feet. We had someone last year, towards the end of last year, who came forward with a new home design, and their garage was just slightly, well, it was more than slightly. There was a few hundred square feet addition that they needed to build out the garage they wanted. From the outside, it was there were some objections made regarding it, and in the end, the architect said, "I'll move the interior walls of the house and shrink down the size of the garage." What that effectively did was made it difficult for someone to put their car in and walk around the garage with all the things that they were going to store in the garage. And it was like, from the outside, it didn't change really much at all. So what are we trying to accomplish there? Simply impose on people difficulty in utilizing their garage space to the full way that they want? people do more than park a car in a garage. It becomes a utility work area for a lot of people. They may have dog tubs in there, they may have, their lawn equipment, lots of things go into
I've
garages.
seen basketball
So-
courts.
Yeah, so people do a lot inside their garage. If from the exterior it passes muster with the ABR, I'm not seeing that we really have an aura in this race.
So given everything you just said there, Mayor, where is the 2,400 maximum coming from?
With the 40% for that matter.
Yeah, just coming from the 40%. Essentially what's
So-
happening is
So I
you're
get, I
you're
get
getting
the-
a 40%.
I get the 40%, but when you start getting up to 7,000 square feet, you're exceeding the maximum, at 40%, you're exceeding the maximum of 2,400 square
Yeah.
feet.
We
So
just
where
felt-
did the 2,400 square
Well,
feet?
we just felt
come
that there
from?
had to be some upper limit so
Why?
so that someone doesn't end up creating an enormous garage space.
But they built an
We've had
enormous
people-
house.
We've had people request, we had an individual at one point request to have a garage space to house 16 vehicles, which the planning commission turned down.
But
The problem with it is they had collector cars and they were gonna put them inside, and I understand it, but the problem is when that person moves, we've got this structure there, and then the reuse of that structure becomes an issue for the city.
But I thought that's what the 40% was already doing for you. So if they build a really big house, why can't they have to go with it a big garage?
The commission at the time we discussed it felt that there should be some upper limit, even at the 40%.
2,400 is a lot of square feet, because it's single
George,
story.
What's it, like, if you were building a 4-car garage and, some space around the edges, how many square feet is that?
It's gonna be over 1,000, because what happens with 1,000
Oh, yeah, no,
square
I
feet.
get it's over 1,000, I'm just in my head, I'm just trying to picture, what does 2,400 square feet look like in a garage? Like, how many cars you park in
8.
there? Oh, it's humongous.
So what's a normal 2-car garage, modern 2-car garage, how many square feet?
5 something, a
Okay.
little over
Mine is
500.
528 and it comfortably.
Yeah, to be comfortable, to be able to open it, could you build one at less than 500 square feet? Yes, but then when you open the doors, you'll hit the other car. To do something comfortable, you're gonna be over 500 square feet for a 2-car garage. You're gonna be over 1,000 square feet for a 4-car garage, if it's gonna operate comfortably. If you make it sort of halfway dysfunctional, you can squeeze, that's what we've had the problem with. At 1,000 square feet, when someone's trying to do a 4-car garage, they cannot make it work. And that's why they come in for these variances. 1,200 square feet would work fine for a 4-car garage.
So
How do you get the
I'm fully in support of this, because I sat here the last year or so, came to a lot of planning commission meetings and watched a 6,000 or 7,000 square foot house. The architect comes in and tries to get the variance, no, you need to do more work, and now the homeowner just has to spend more money with an architect to do something that's silly, to get his 1,100 or 1,200 square foot down to that 1,000 square foot, when, as you noted, Mayor, in here, there's no front garages allowed. So the sidecar garage makes, most times, the same windows, the same shutters, it looks just like the front of the house. So I'm fully supportive of ramping this up. You got a great point, Eric, but 2,400 square feet is a monster garage.
And if somebody wanted something bigger than
They go to
2,400
the
square
planning
feet, they could
commission.
still apply for the variance.
Exactly.
that they're
They
taking,
have that
right?
right.
That's a good point.
They always have that right.
But this will eliminate a lot of variances, and it's gonna save residents money, because we've been in this architect back and forth. Well, I need 1,100, well, I don't like it, is it fine? There was people that were on the planning commission that just kept kicking it back, and the architect bill just keeps going up and up. For a 7,000 square foot house, it gives them 1,000 square foot garage, which is ridiculous.
I have one question. Why do you need 40% and the 2,400? Can you just have the 2,400?
No, it's 40%, but the commission felt that even at the 40%, there ought to be some upper limit beyond which you couldn't go, and that's where the 2,400 came from. It's 40% up to a maximum of 2,400.
But Cindy, if you said only the maximum, and you said 2,400, they could build a 2,500
It wouldn't be
square foot
proportional.
house, and they could put a 2,400 foot garage. So they're trying to build in a proportion.
But all of that still has to go through ABR, right?
No, not just, yeah.
The
they go
drawings
to the-
will, yes, but it doesn't have to get a variance because of the size of the garage anymore.
No, just play it out, right? If somebody had an idea to build a disproportionate garage for their house size, less than 24, let's say it's 23. ABR would still have to say, yeah, that makes sense, or no, that's crazy, downsize that. Even if this passes.
No.
Well, if the massing of the house wasn't in style with, if the massing looked wrong, they would have the ability to take down the
So
massing.
the way the ordinance is written, you can't have a 2,500 square foot house with a 2,400 square foot garage. That's what you're concerned with.
But yeah, so ABR still has,
Final say.
In the drawing, yeah, the drawing, but what this does, I believe it sets a higher standard, so this back and forth with the architect goes away.
One of the things that you need to consider is, with your no front-facing garage door provision, when you look at this from the street, you can't tell which garage.
Exactly.
You're seeing house, okay? If you had, a half a dozen garage doors facing the street, that would be a different issue, but you don't have that because of the other standards in the code.
so I guess if we have ABR oversight, why do we need any limits at all? I mean, I don't want 16-car garages in Pepper Pike, but if it's done correctly and you can't tell from the street, who cares? I mean, I guess your resale point, right?
Yes, the idea is that we didn't want someone to build a modest house with an enormous garage. We've actually had requests over the years, and Mary, you probably remember some of them too, where the garage was larger than the house. And that's something we didn't want to encourage. We want to give people the ample garage space because I'd rather have the vehicles in the garage than in the driveway, okay? So let's put them away so you don't have to look at them. So fine, do that. But we wanted to make sure that the living area of the house was greater than the garage.
Yeah.
And that's what we tried to maintain with the 40%.
I have a question about the lower bound or the 1,000 square feet as well, because I'm thinking about the house we saw last night when we thought it was gonna be an addition, like 2 garages, right? And then we're gonna need that small variance. In your experience, does that 1,000 square feet need to get bumped up, or do you think that that is gonna be captured by the 40%?
I think you're gonna pick it up with the 40%. What we were trying to do is, you have some very modest homes in the city as well. Typically tend to be the older homes.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to take away from them the right to that 1,000 square feet that they've had up to now.
Right.
I think by saying that it's 40% or 1,000 square feet, whichever is the greater, you've protected those residents.
Oh, right, but I'm thinking like last night, and because the house, when we thought it was gonna be the existing 2-car garage and the 2-car addition, and they were gonna need a small variance, and like, that's fine, maybe the right answer is they come to the planning commission to get a small variance. But I'm wondering, does that 1,000 need to go up to like 1,200 or something, because that house seemed like, if you're doing the math, even if we made these adjustments, but.
He would have still been at 1,000 square feet because his house was small.
Right, cause
Then
so,
the question becomes, do you even need the 1,000 on the bottom?
Correct. That's the question.
yeah, because like this house, they would have needed it, because otherwise it would have been lower for them.
Yes.
Yes,
40%. Oh, I got you.
Their house
is
So
very
they were
small.
like at 2,000
very
square
large
feet or
house.
something.
Correct.
Gotcha, okay.
so my question was
All
like,
right.
does it
Yeah,
make
they had
sense
like
to
a
make that?
2,000 square foot house, so
Gotcha.
they'd have had like an 800 square foot garage.
Gotcha.
Which would have
No,
never-
totally get it. I get it now.
And so my question is, does it make sense to make that number like 1,200, or is that just, or is it, we're talking about such a small number of situations and potential situations that it's just like, just do the variances where that makes sense?
Yeah, what we were dealing with last night, I don't think has come up before. The
Okay.
one that's come up most often is the big home.
Yeah,
And, I want to get 4 cars in a garage and I can't do it.
Mhm.
And I not only want to get them in, but,
I've got my Hummer or whatever it is, and so I need to make the garage a little deeper so I can actually get the garage door closed behind it
Yeah.
and still get around the car and get in the house. So that's what we've run into mostly.
Okay, I think we have a very good flavor. This has to return to the planning commission. There has to be a public hearing. So we're not looking for any action on this evening. So I think we've had a pretty good discussion of it, and maybe we should pass on now, get this thing back to the planning commission, and see if Ms. Godick and I will both take the comments that people have made and bring it back to the planning commission, share those, and we'll come back to this at a future meeting.
Can I
God bless
just ask one last question?
Sure.
If it's in the planning commission and comes back, it's fine. I'm just wondering if there should be any difference for if it's attached or detached. And I don't know all the nuance of how that works
That's a fair
today,
question.
but like that could make a difference.
I don't know. That's something to be considered.
If it were detached in giant, that would be different, right?
Right.
Or detached 8-car garage.
Right. Well, we have people who build, what look like barns, basically. So people do put very large accessory structures out there, but it's a good question. I think it's fair consideration. Alrighty, so we will move this on, close first reading, and move it on to the planning commission. Next, I'm going to turn to, Colonel Rice.
Okay.
To lead this, because I'm going to do my best to beg off of this conversation. It was asked by some council members that we put this on the agenda.
Yeah, okay, this is item number 7, discussion compensation of the safety director, and Mayor, I'm gonna turn it over to Jack.
I brought this to council's attention. We've had 2 executive sessions to discuss this prior to bringing it to an open meeting. So I'm in my 3rd year on council, and I see how much work the mayor does. And I say that I want to frame this conversation sort of in 2 pieces. 1, I have appreciation for how much work this mayor does. And 2, this is not about any specific person. This is about compensating the position appropriately. So as it stands right now, the rules are such that we cannot adjust the mayor's pay while we're in the midst of a legislative session, I guess. I don't know how to put it. That change has to be made in advance of the filing for candidacy of the next election. So basically, Steve, if we were gonna make a change, that would have to be passed by when?
Yeah, let me read you the rule. The compensation of the mayor and each member of the council shall be fixed at least 30 days before the time of filing for the nominating petitions for the terms beginning on the next succeeding first day of January. So the ordinance has to be in effect by July, usually 5th-ish. That's 30 days before the filing deadline is usually. First Wednesday in August is the filing deadline. So the first Wednesday in July would be so effectively action in June if you didn't have.
And we're talking about 2027. Yes.
To
Okay.
change either the mayor or council's compensation, that's right.
So I wanted to take a look at what our mayor makes right now, what makes sense for the future. And I asked our HR consultant, Melissa, to do a little bit of data gathering. What I took from the work she did is that there's no community and no single metric that is going to mirror what Pepper Pike looks like. And the range of salaries is huge. The mayor gets paid a salary and then also has the safety director position. You put those 2 together. The safety director position is able to be changed within a term. So the way this has ended up being a workaround in the past has, the salary for the mayor stays static and the safety director position is changed. All that being said, this I think is an important topic because this is an important job. And the salary has not been changed, I believe, since 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
It's 2019.
2019, sorry.
The
2019.
mayor's salary is not
The
changed
mayor's
since
salary.
2017. In 2019, the safety
Was the
director's
safety
pay
director,
was
right.
bumped up, so 7 years.
and I'm looking at this as, and I'm saying all this with like, I never want to be mayor. This is not self-serving at all. I think that this position needs to be something that can reasonably be attractive to a mid-career candidate, right? Not someone who is towards the end of their career or who feels like they have to make a big sacrifice. There is going to be some sacrifice. This is public service, right? However, I want it to be a viable career for someone who lives in the city, wants to be a dedicated public servant, but also wants to be able to pay their mortgage and take care of their family. So that's kind of where I came to this conversation. The way forward, I think, would be to adjust the safety director compensation. I understand that there's some reluctance to that idea, just potentially in the community, definitely from members of council, because you look at the rules and you're like, you're not supposed to mess with someone's salary, an elected position, salary, during the term, because that's just, you know, what opens itself up to a whole host of potential conflicts, ethical issues, whatever. I respect that argument, but I'm looking at this and saying, if I had any position and I hadn't gotten a raise since 2019, how would I feel about that? How would any of us feel about that? You know, 7 years without a raise. Another thing to think about is that all of the directors in the city make significantly more than the mayor does. And the mayor, I know he does, and I know the expectation, I think, of pretty much all of us, is that the mayor is accessible pretty much business hours and oftentimes out of business hours. So you have someone who's running for all intents and purposes, you know, multi-million-dollar organization with how many full-time employees who are looking to him for leadership, and he's being compensated at a fraction of the directors. So, you know, I think that the right path forward, in my opinion, is to bring that safety director salary up to feel like we're fairly compensating the mayor currently, to make up for these past 7 years of just static salary. And, you know, we all know what her price has done, especially recently. And then going forward, by next summer, passing something that says, this is the mayor's salary, we're not compensating the safety director. I think that that's actually mostly title and name only. We're gonna compensate the mayor at this level, and we're going to peg it to inflation. So we're gonna use the same inflationary metric that Social Security uses to calculate their annual increases. That way, I think that is the most straightforward and elegant solution. I think it takes it completely out of council's hands, which, in my opinion, you know, I don't want any part of this decision ever. You know, I think that if someone thinks the mayor's doing a bad job, you don't vote for him again. Someone thinks the mayor's doing a great job, re-elect him, or elect a new mayor, or whatever the case may be. But that's the way you show your approval or disapproval of the job someone's doing. I don't think that we should be having conversations about, even if it's built in every 4 years or whatever it is, trying to, well, what do we feel like? What's the right number? This back and forth, because looking at all the numbers that Melissa gathered for us, there is no easy way to analyze that information and come out with, this is the right number. I mean, I have no idea how they got to the number in 2019. So I don't know, maybe you guys can shed some light on that. But I think that we're talking about a pretty modest range, or, you know, we're not talking about $50,000 range of possibilities. I think, you know, the range we're talking about is something in, you know, is it 100,000, is it 120,000, something like that, I don't know. But in the broad scheme of our budget, I think it's a very reasonable solution. So I would love for everyone else to share their thoughts.
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I'm counting the number of decisions that we have to make. See, I think you've created like 4 decisions for us. So the first is, do we think that the mayor's salary needs to be increased?
Mm-hmm.
Second decision, what would that salary be?
Yep.
The third decision is, do we think, given how long it's been since there's been an increase, does the mayor deserve to get an adjustment before the next election. And the fourth thing is, can we build in an automatic adjustment? So, you know, either a routine review by council or potentially taking council out of it by pegging it to Social Security or something. But I think that break, is that
Yeah,
somehow kind
and
of, those are
completely, and
kind of the
that's, I mean,
four things.
I think that's part of the argument for trying to set something up where council doesn't touch it,
Doesn't
unless,
have to-
again, and you know, I said this before, like, unless, if something goes off the rails, that's when you revisit it, but
Yeah.
like, you just wanna set it and let it go.
Okay, but do you think I captured that right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like four separate things that we all have to agree to.
Yeah.
So, so I could say that I agree, that I think there needs to be an adjustment.
Mhm.
How much is gonna be very debatable, but, you know, when you talk about a mid-level person, you know, that's a mid-level person who lives in Pepper Pike and has to pay their mortgage and support a family.
Right.
And, so, you know, we have to be, we can't be too conservative on that level that we set, because we want to get good talent
Right.
in the future.
Yeah.
And to the third one, you know, should the mayor get an adjustment? Yes, I think he's been doing, me personally, I think he's been doing a great job, working very hard. I don't have a problem giving it an adjustment before the next election. And then the final thing, as far as the pegging, I think it's a great idea to not have to make council suffer through this and pegging it to the Social Security. So that's my response.
All right, I got a couple of points. So, I'm a yes to the four things that you laid out, okay? So, yes, I believe the mayor's compensation needs to be increased. Yes, I think we should do it this year. Yes, next year we should fix it so that the council gets out of it. We've had some good debates and executive sessions. So, I was a city manager for a fairly large suburb. And if we wanted to, so I have a lot of experience with this type of stuff. So if we were to change the form of government here from a strong mayor to a weak mayor, strong city manager, it would cost us $140,000 to $160,000 to hire the right city manager. Okay, so to do those things, the mayor's making $83,000 with his mayor and safety director pay. So that's the difference. We'd still have to pay the mayor if we hired a city manager. Typically, in a weak mayor system, if the council's making, what do we make, $8,200, the mayor would probably make about $12,500 or $13,000, and that's pretty standard. So now, you know, if we want to do that, we want to change the charter and go to strong manager, then we can do that. But that's what you're looking at. Now, the argument, well, the mayor's, is he full-time, is he part-time, he still has a law, back to what Jackie said, what if we have somebody who doesn't have a job that's like a billable hour thing, that really has to leave their job to come lead the community? And this is, so, I don't care, part-time, full-time, this is a 24/7 job. When there's an incident, the first thing at 3 a.m, the first person the police chief calls is the mayor. And then the mayor comes in, starts taking action, and does whatever it takes. The other thing is, the department heads all deserve an engaged leader who is here and available all the time. There's nothing worse in a poorly run organization is department heads who see their boss once a week or once a month and say, well, I'll just text them or email. That's not how that's not how great organizations run, and we want to be a great organization. Now, the department heads all have their jobs and they work for the mayor, and what people don't realize, and a lot of people in the community don't realize, is that the other stuff that the mayor, and I'll just call him the chief executive of the city, and I put this sort of back to my city manager and then my commanding officer of Marine Corps Base Hawaii had. He goes to meetings with the Regional Sewer District, the Chamber of Commerce, the Council of Mayors and Managers, all these engagement things that happen on his lunchtime, that happen at night, that make the city money. I don't mean a checkbook, but build relationships that you can count on your neighbors to take care of. So I use the thing, when I was a commanding officer of Marine Corps Base Hawaii, I was the face of Marine Corps in the state of Hawaii. I was out, and many times with my wife, 3 to 4 times a week, whether I wanted to be or not, to the rubber chicken circuit and the whole bit. But that's part of the job. And that stuff is what really makes the community money. And now we talk about sewers and other things. The reason there's an allowance of, I think it's $8,000 or $10,000 for every house to get a hookup when we go to sewers is because the mayor did that via the regional sewer district and by building and making relationships. So that's what we want. So he is vastly underpaid. And yes, public service is public service, but I would like to see him get a raise this year. And I would also like to see us fix this in the long term. And I made the proposal in the executive session because it's the simplest thing to do is we decide next year via ordinance, what is the no kidding salary of the mayor and get rid of the safety director thing. Because it's every city does this. The safety director thing is just, it's a game to pay their mayors because they can't fix it every year like they can their department heads because of the charter. So it's a workaround, and everybody understands that, and I don't like it, and I know members of council don't like it. We want to fix it, and the easiest way to do that is whatever we figure out the salary of the mayor to be for the next session that begins in January 28th. We peg the COLA of Social Security that comes out every October. Every federal program, my military retirement benefits, VA disability benefits, Social Security benefits, and there's a whole number of others are all tied to that Social Security COLA. It's a very standard COLA, and everybody understands it. And that gets the council out of the business of rewarding or unrewarding a mayor they like or don't like or anything, and it gets us out of this business of trying to do it every 4 years. So I'm a yes.
I feel like we all do, for the most part, agree that a raise is warranted. We want to get out of the business of having to do this. Like, I do feel like we agree on more than we disagree, and we're probably not talking about enough where the disagreement is, because my issue is still with this concept of like using the safety director position to shepherd in an increase when everyone admittedly in the room is saying, we don't really want that position and we're going to get rid of it in a year. Like that just, I can't get past that. That feels like promoting some sort of workaround. Ultimately, when we know it's not the way we want things to run. So does one more year really, I don't think Mayor Bain is going to be suddenly less engaged because this is a year from now. And it feels like the right way to go about it is acknowledge a year in advance. We don't want this safety director position anymore. We want to update the pay, and that gives us a runway to do the level of due diligence and like plan intentionally for it instead of this weird like bump this so he gets where we want. Like it just, I don't like that.
I get that, but
I want to just make one point. The charter makes, as uncomfortable it is to have the executive sessions and to have this meeting, the charter makes it council's job to set the pay of everybody in the community, or everybody in the organization. So without a change in the charter, it's council's job to do this, as uncomfortable as it might be.
But we're setting it at whatever, setting it to adjust, and we can change it as needed. Because if it's council's job to set the compensation, council has been abdicating that responsibility since 2019, right?
No, they've decided not to make an adjustment.
Right, and so.
Whenever it came up.
Right.
So, but all I'm saying, because people don't want council to have to do this because it's uncomfortable, it is council's job according to the charter to set this, to set the pay. So
Every
we
4
have to-
years, right?
Is there a time that it's
Whenever.
supposed to?
It's just, yes, it would have to be according to the laws of the state of Ohio. Council would set pay for the mayor and for council members according to the laws of state of Ohio, whenever that's available, but it still is council's job.
I want to rephrase, I don't think it's like not our job. I think there's a general wanting for it to be as objective as possible instead of the conversations and hoops we've had to
I agree. A couple people said that they don't want to have to do this, but we have to because we're council. It's our job. The council says that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything more than that. You know, there's no hidden meaning there. It's council's job to.
So my question for you, Tony, though, interpreting that, what Steve told us is we can only basically do this every 4 years.
That's correct.
Okay, that's,
That's correct.
I'll make sure we're
That's
talking.
correct. And we can,
that's the
and we can
crux.
only change council.
That's the
every
crux,
4 years.
that's the crux of the problem. If you change it, and then a new mayor or some mayor goes 4 years, while all the department heads continue to get pay raises and.
It's public service. It's, I mean, this is municipality.
Oh geez, I didn't know that.
Municipalities, municipal government is different than the military, it's different than the private sector, it's different than nonprofit.
And I've done municipal and feds, so I get it.
Okay.
But,
I'm saying.
so here's the deal. So I'm 66 years old. Okay, I'm retired. It'd be different. So I look, Sandeep is in his 40s. What if Sandeep wanted to run for mayor and Sandeep has a fairly well-paying job and he's got 2 young kids? Maybe that's the kind of guy that's what Jackie's talking about, who we're trying to target, is so we make the compensation something that a mid-level 45-year-old executive will say, okay, I can afford to leave my job and still pay my taxes at Pepper Pike and my home and my mortgage and everything else. That's what we're really looking for in the long run.
So I think
That's an opinion, that's completely different than the philosophy of all the pay of the elected officials has been from 1966 forward. It's the opposite.
Go ahead.
I just responding to that. I think in one of our sessions, somebody said the governor of Ohio makes roughly 150. I think the paramount question is what you're alluding to, Bob. You know, what do we want? What kind of candidates do we want to be mayor, right? That is, I don't know if we can't answer that right here, in my opinion, because that's a big loaded question. That's a very, even this proposed number would not attract someone like me as a mayor. Not that it's about me. I'm just saying that's a big range we have to talk about. If that's the question.
I agree, and I think we want to attract a 40-something, somebody, you know, a whole range of people, but I think we want to make sure people are fairly compensated so they're willing to take on public service.
So my question is, Melissa has done a lot of rigor, all the different departments when the city does the negotiations. I think we need to have an additional level of rigor to figure out what this number is, plus decide as council what our goal is for this candidate. I think those have to mesh together.
I mean, just weigh in, to Alyssa's point, I've always been bothered by the work around it, just felt wrong. I think all of us have been, it bothers me still. But when I want to go to the question of the data we have, I was for the last 30 years of my career manager. I managed the audit department, managed the environmental health and safety department, corporate development department. Some of those were on a global basis. So I've done a lot of hiring, a lot of job specification, job changes, and so doing salary survey type work is very familiar to me. And I just find, and I mentioned this last time, I just find this work by Melissa very troubling in terms of what it's providing. And just to drill down on it, what her chart has is a bunch of cities that are double or more our size. And it has a bunch of cities that are way smaller than us by population. And then it tries to average those, which is just, I've never seen a salary survey, and I've seen hundreds of them, that tries that methodology to get to an answer. So to Sandeep's point about rigor on this, to me, the sweet spot on this, so you have, just for an example, Beechwood at 13,000, Bay Village at 15,000, Ferry Park at 15,000, Shaker Heights at 28,000, South Yucca at 21. I mean, there's just no comparison. They have hundreds of employees in some cases. And it shouldn't be. But to be fair, on the same regard, there's some cities on here that are much, much smaller than us, and I don't think they should be on the list either. You know, if it's, you know, Mayfield Village with 3,300 people, so I mean, it's like a barbell, and they're trying to average between those two. That's very strange to me as a way of doing this work. Typically, you try and look at comparable positions of comparable companies. And there's lots of companies that do this. We outsource this because we had so many job changes as often. To me, the sweet spot on this is somewhere between 4,000 and 10,000. That's kind of comparable to Pepper Pike, but bigger and smaller. And that doesn't give you the final answer. And I said this before, it gives you guidance so that your decision is not arbitrary. Because if you're picking a number out of the air, you're arbitrary. But on this list, we only have 3 cities that fall within that range: Independence, Highland Heights, and Olmsted Falls. And every other city is way bigger or way smaller. And so I just don't think this is good data to make a decision. And I would really like a more robust data set to give us the baseline for guidance.
So
It's never final. We adjust it based on circumstances. And when I would do this work, you would always, you know, you've got to adjust it to the geography, because rural and city is always different. And you look at other specific factors, but we don't have a good starting point.
So that gets to
I wanna make one
the
other
question
point.
of what should the salary be, right? That's one of the 4 questions, right? And one comment I'll make is that if we agree that we want something more robust, I think we're gonna have to pay for it, okay? I don't think we can just ask Melissa to go off and do that. She's got other responsibilities. So we could agree that we want to go and pay a consultant to do this, but we're not going to get it by asking Melissa.
But my experience is it's not very costly to do that, because these companies who do it
Yeah.
are tied into all these databases.
Fair enough, but I think it has to be its own thing. I don't think we can ask Melissa.
I do want to make another point. I've been thinking about Alyssa and Sandy's point about we're doing this workaround. And their point, their position has caused me to do more research. I thought I kind of knew how this worked. And I did more research, and I found that Bob said it last time, this is a bullshit position. We usually use that language in the public meetings, but I'll echo my friend to the right. And so I'm uncomfortable doing a change at this point. I think we should do a change next year, begin the work in April, or February even, to get the good data, and then make the kind of changes that you were all talking about that have been bandied about so far. But I'm uncomfortable continuing to use the safety director position now that I've done the research and found out that it really is kind of wrong.
I don't think it's the right answer going forward, obviously, but for now, I mean, there was a pretty hostile relationship between the mayor and council for a long time, and that certainly precluded any conversation like this where we could have addressed this current term. And I don't think it's fair to hold this mayor hostage, given the amount of work he does, given the benefits he's reaped for the city, with the work he's put in, to arbitrarily now say, well, this workaround we've been using for all this time, we're just gonna stop using that now.
Yeah, I want to make a point.
Yeah.
There was a hostile relationship between the mayor and the council for a while.
Mhm.
But before that, there was an amicable relationship for part of those 7 years.
Yeah.
Where nothing was done, or what was done was, we've done what we should do.
There was
That
a
the problem.
raise to the safety director's position in 2019, right? Like that was the last thing. Yeah.
Correct. And there were people who were very much in support of the mayor at that time. And my recollection is that based on comparative data, we were relatively generous with that raise that came about in 2019. Therefore, not required to make many adjustments further. So I grant you that yes, there was also a relationship, but before that, for at least 3 years, there was not a hostile relationship. So two points.
I want to keep grounding us on, this is for, not for any person,
Correct.
it's for the position.
Right.
So no matter whether, what's been going on lately and how hard something, this is for the position. And I keep coming back to that.
Because that's the piece that the current, bringing the current salary up to what I think would be appropriate level. By definition, you're going to be evaluating the current mayor, right? If he was slacking off, not doing a great job, I wouldn't be advocating for this change
Well,
for
then-
the remainder of the term.
But you're saying you're making an adjustment for the person, not the position.
It's really two separate conversations. Because I think that you have this person in a position without a raise for 7 years. I mean, I would have quit.
Well, you have to start with where they were relative to the good data set, right?
Yep.
And whether they were ahead back then, I need better data to understand this. I don't have
So,
it.
so a couple of points, so, life is full of workarounds. And I've said my piece at the executive session that I'm using colorful language, you're correct, because I understand what this is. But life is always full of workarounds, and I don't personally have a problem with a workaround for the next year and a half while we fix it long term.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable with the workaround, even though long term, I know we can do better. So, and then you could just say, well, previous councils will put us in the position that we gotta keep using the workaround. So whatever you wanna call it, I'm okay with that. Your point, Jim, I'm comfortable with the data, it gives you a lot of looks. But the difference between the city of 6,600, our tax base is a lot, I used South Euclid, well, our tax base is a lot higher than South Euclid, so there's a lot more money to manage, there's a lot more responsibility. And if you start looking at just kind of leadership models, the number of department heads between a 6,000 person community and the number of direct reports in a 12,000 person community is probably the same. So the police chief, does he have more cops than a 12,000 person? Yeah. But the mayor still has the same number of direct reports. So to me, I'm pretty good with that.
And that was Melissa did say she was trying to get data on employee numbers, and she was having a really hard time getting good data, taking into account part-time, seasonal, it's not as easy as saying how many people work in your city.
Well, there's an easy fix for that. Just go full-time, period. And that's a proxy for everything else. So I don't want to make this hard, but you just do full-time and stop, because I think every city has some trailing edge of part-time, seasonal, and it's just not worth getting into.
Yeah.
Or if they have an FTE number. But
Yeah.
full-time is what I would base that on to make it very simple.
One thing I think we're talking about though is, there's a number that's on the spreadsheet you gave, right?
Of what?
You mean the recommended salary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that was, like Jen
We
said,
didn't-
that was just an average, I don't know that that's.
Well, ultimately-
meaningful.
Whether you're in favor of doing now or in the future, we have to figure out that number, right?
Yeah.
That is the,
I mean, if you ask me
Big question,
tonight,
yeah.
I would put a number on the table and say I'm comfortable with it. And it's not huge. I mean, if you want me to talk about a number, I'd say, like a $15,000 raise going from 83 to 98 for this year, and it would be next year. And then we fix it. And I find it really interesting, and I really appreciate it, because Alyssa in the executive session, she's in the, we really need to attract good people. We got to really pay good people, right? So she's thinking like the equivalent of the city manager thing. So we're kind of all over, but that you gotta pay talent.
I'd like to see it equated to like the median salary of our resident. Like, I'd like to see it close to what the average Pepper Pike resident is typically working with, to go back to the point of like, you should be able to cover your mortgage, and you should be able to live and do this job. But I do think all of that is still secondary to me, that if this doesn't happen now through the safety director workaround, we have time to
Absolutely.
address that. and like be really thoughtful
And
with
be,
what
what do
that
we
is.
really think the mayor's worth, and pay the mayor, the salary for the mayor, and get out of the safety director business and tie a permanent pay structure in there. And I like to be a COLA. Because the department heads and, every 3 years, we have unions that we negotiate with, and they don't just get a bump every 3 years. They get a bump the first year, they get a bump in the second year, they get a bump in the third year. Then we renegotiate, and they get a bump. I don't set this out. I don't, I've talked to the mayor about the department heads, but I'm pretty sure they get bumps every year too. So, the leader shouldn't be making less than the department heads and the leaders. And frankly, the average of the police officers and firefighters, mayor makes less than the average for those.
I think, I appreciate those comments. I think if you ask each 7 of us what that number should be, we'll have a different target based on whatever data we've seen.
I agree.
So I think the next step is we have to commission independent consultants to figure out what that number is. That's my opinion.
I don't agree, because I think that we've seen spreadsheets from 2 different sets of data. And I'm like, okay, Beechwood mayor makes like 180, okay? It's funny, because I met the Beechwood mayor at I think it was at a council training session, and we were talking, I said, so what's your other job? He goes, oh, this is my full-time job. I gave up my full-time job. I'm Mayor of Beechwood now. 13,000 people and whatever, 13,000, it's not that big a community, sorry. You're talking, the suburb I ran was 28,000. It's 13,000, Beechwood is just not that big.
Well, we've seen lots of data about it, but, the reality is lots of bad data is as good as no data. And what we have is really worthless data, in my opinion. I've been doing financial analysis, CFO work for many years, more than I want to even admit to. And lots of bad data is as good as no data. We can just redo the study that we also did over and over again. It didn't change very much from the first one. It wasn't good then, it's not good now.
What was not good about it?
It was the cities and municipalities that she chose were not comparable to Pepper Pike in any way. She used Shaker Heights, which is 5 times as large, Berea, which is nowhere near us, Brooksville, all kinds of cities that were just, Jim outlined it. They were not comparable cities. The cities that are comparable would have been yielded by the study that I asked her to do, that you
You never gave her the names of the city though, Tony.
I gave her.
You had an idea, and you were gonna give her a list of cities, and you never gave it to her, and she was shooting in the dark, because you never gave her the list.
I did give her the
Yes,
list.
he gave her the
Late, this is after all of our meetings.
No,
Yes, it was.
you're
So what-
wrong. Let's not bicker about this, because I just have a different opinion. But you sabotaged my effort to try and get good data.
Did you, because she's a contract employee, and you were giving her extra work after she already gave us 2 sets of data.
Well, the reason I asked her to do it was because people would say that my work would have been biased. And Jackie had opened the door, I believe it was Jackie, by having her do the work in the first place.
Yeah, I asked her to compile the first thing, and
So there was a precedent for having a council member work with Melissa on this. And what I gave her was a very simple task. And I did a lot of work before giving her that memo, which that memo was late May, early June.
what cities, like name a few cities that weren't on the list. I'm just curious, like what are some cities that you think would
This
be?
is what he said. I just cut.
Sheila sent that out yesterday. I went through and identified 139 cities in the state of Ohio that had populations between 3,500 and 10,500, which is 50% more, 50% less than Pepper Pike. And then I asked her to go through and look at the audit reports to find the comparable number for budgets, for operating budgets, and then take that and the ones that were the closest, then to get the numbers of employees and the amount that the mayor was compensated. That's not a hard thing.
Well, it's
Shouldn't have-
it's not a
May I
bad
finish,
approach, but
please?
I
May I
think we
finish?
took a misstep
May I
to
finish?
ask Melissa to do this, because she has a different job. So I think
She has the job that Jackie gave her, and I wanted her to do it better. That's all. That's all. She didn't do it very well. Maybe she's used to doing union groups and police, but she didn't do something very good for us on the.
Because I'm gonna speak up for this one. She has a contract to do tasks. She ran out of space on her contract, as I generally understand it. When she wanted to do, when she was asked to do more, she says, I'm gonna have to build this. I said, that's not up to me.
She came to me and
And
I
she went
made
to
the
Bob.
decision.
It's
and
not her
said, no.
capability. I don't want her disparaged here in this
Right.
meeting.
I'm not
She
disparaging
simply,
her.
yes, you were. And
I'm saying she didn't do
she
good
was
work.
being disparaged. She simply said, if I do the work, I just heads up, I will have to bill for it.
Well,
That's all the lady said.
when I asked her to do it, she said nothing about that to me.
So,
Okay, hang on,
And
so if we want to do more work, council has to make a motion to authorize it? Is that the,
No, the administration is the amount, and I was acting as the administration because the mayor needed to say out of that, I'm the vice mayor. And I talked to Peter and we both agreed, no, we don't need to do any further. And I asked Jackie, was comfortable with data, I was comfortable with the data, Eric was comfortable with the data. I said, okay, we don't need her. And also, you look at the time that she was doing, she was knee deep, not only in her other job, she was involved in a long hiring process here. And not only we weren't gonna task her, put more tasks on her contract, but she was really out of time, because the time she was devoting to the hiring process. So I made that decision.
But I think the point is, if we want more,
I know you do.
we have to all agree that we're gonna pay for
with whatever her hourly rate is?
it. Right? Or her or some
Or
other
somebody
consultant
I was
that
gonna
we
say, if
hire.
we're gonna have to pay for some data, I think it makes sense to just use a firm that does this, right? Like,
I
not, this
agree.
is not, I don't think this is maybe directly.
I feel like we can
wheelhouse.
get pretty far
She does.
just doing it ourselves and even asking her to review it. And then, like, I don't need anybody other than more time in depth on what we wanna research and what we wanna get out of it.
Yeah.
My experience in doing these, in the private sector, with these firms can do this very efficiently because they have ties to all these databases and can pull it fast. Whether that applies to government, I don't know, but it's not a big expense to do one position. It's,
I also think it helps take out bias.
Exactly.
So what, you had the 4 questions/topics. What do you think is the first one we need to?
Well,
No doubt.
I think the first one was, do we think we need a raise? And I think it sounds like everybody's agreed, yes, we need to.
So let's do it the right way. So
The second one is-
I'm the vice mayor, somebody make a motion, that we believe that the mayor deserves a raise.
Is that correct, Steve?
Well, if you want something
We-
actionable, you could take a motion to authorize the drafting of legislation that amends the safety director's compensation. Or if you're not comfortable with that, you deal with the mayor's compensation, but that could
Next
not be
year.
enacted until it's effective January 1 of 2028.
Right. But my personal view is it's a two-stepper. I mean,
Would it be appropriate for a former councilman at some point to say something about this matter,
sure.
if I'm permitted to?
Please.
Yeah.
Finally, you guys have something on the agenda which got me to come back to this. I believe, and I kind of made some notes, I was in your role, Bob, a few times, Tony led that several times. 7 people can never agree on anything, because we have no right to evaluate the mayor. That decision is made by the citizens, not you. Just want to make sure of that. Ask yourself, this matter is not a new matter. I was here 10 years on that seat. Dealt with it many, many times. And basically every time the same excuses come to do nothing, just push the can. What are the excuses? It's a public service. People should expect a reasonable compensation. What's the excuse? Well, if we pay them more, we will get the wrong kind of people running for office. Okay? Data is something one can never be satisfied with. Make a damn decision. And if you have guts, vote in public, say we are not going to give them a raise. So you don't do any of that. It just dies in the executive sessions. My view is a person should be paid a fair and reasonable pay for their work, what they do. Whether it's worth I did a deal, I may not have, I made tons of money. This has nothing to do with how much time I spent. It's what skills I bring, what responsibilities I have. Okay? Fact that these matters will keep coming up in discussions and will never get decided. It'll just die. I can complain about data forever. Sometimes you gotta get off the pot or use the pot. Make a decision. Here is a city with $10 million budget. We are talking about $15,000 raise. If I were auditing your books and I found a $15,000 misallocation, it wouldn't even be material. Auditor will say, forget it. It's not worth my time. This is politics. If you don't like his style, run against him. There's nothing wrong with that. But nobody had the guts to run against him. I think he should get a raise. He should get it now. This two-tier system was not us, it was created by this council because they didn't know any other way to do it. I believe the right approach will be when union contracts are negotiated and those employees get a raise, the non-union people get similar raises in the city. I believe same thing should happen with mayor's salaries. If you don't like his style, then go out in public, campaign against him. Just hiding behind an executive session and raking up issues which are irrelevant. I've said this in meetings, you're wasting my time for $500 an hour to have to discuss this. I've said this in executive session. And soon hiring consultants and all of that, you'll spend more money than the raise. And your time has value. Okay? So I think get off the pot and do the job.
Thank you, Mana.
Enough is enough.
Can anyone else make a comment?
I guess you should open it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. open
Is that
for
okay?
comments.
Alice Armstrong, 2561 Maynard Road. I personally feel, and I've watched how much the mayor does and what he's responsible for. And he doesn't have a whole lot of employees here to back him up, and he's on 24/7. I think he deserves a raise. I think he deserves it now. And then you can make a decision about what the salary should be to have the right person in that position in the future. Otherwise, you're not gonna get the right person. You've gotta pay them enough money so that, like you said, they can afford to live here and they can do the job full time. But I truly hope that you can compensate the mayor now for what he hasn't received for the past how many years. And I think that's the fair way to approach it. And you can do it, but you have to make the decision, like you said. You have to step up to the plate and do it. And you have time to do your data and your research for what you want to do next year. But please, compensate him for all that he has done and what he is going to continue to do for the next few months or for the next couple of years.
It's the same argument every time. Nothing is new. I could play that broken record over and over again.
Anybody else, please?
Yeah, I'm Michael Goldberg. I've been a resident for about 30 years. Our city is run beautifully, and I think the election last year really spoke to what the people want in terms of an active, powerful executive, someone that's going to run the city with vision. And I think that people want transparency, and I think that as council acts with transparency, even if there's a workaround, I don't see it as a citizen. I don't see it as an issue. It's the way it's been done. It's in the charter. But I think that it's appropriate to consider a raise now because it's the right thing to do. And frankly, I've been sitting here for the last hour. I'm not sure what all the debate is about. There should be a raise that should be commensurate with the responsibilities and the experience that we want from the mayor. I think Colonel Rice said exactly, put the issue exactly how I would look at it. Transparency is important, but maintaining a strong executive with this mayorship and for whoever's gonna take the job next is important. And personally, you know, I can't speak for anyone but myself, maybe I can speak for my wife, but maybe not, probably not. I have no problem with using that safety director allocation or position to make this a fair compensation package going forward until it can properly be legislated.
I'd love to speak also. Sherry Goldberg, 28449 North Woodland, also been living here almost 30 years and worked with the mayor on a big project. I want to make that transparent, which we are really grateful about. And the mayor works round the clock. I don't care if it's 24, part-time, full-time. And like you said, at 3 a.m, he's the first one to get the call. I want a mayor, whether it's Mayor Bain or the next mayor, to be there for all of us. We're hiring someone to run our city that's a multi-million-dollar city like we would a company or a school. We have to do that commensurate, not commensurate to a town that's 100 miles away in a rural area, and you're talking about apples and oranges. So I'm back to the data with you guys. We gotta do the next right thing. The next right thing is to compensate the mayor. Have you not got a raise since 2019? I don't understand that at all. As a teacher, I got tiny salary, but at least I got a raise every single year that was cost of living raise. So that to me is outrageous. So I say do the next right thing.
So Steve, in terms of motioning you to draft legislation, if I wanted to motion to draft legislation to increase the salary of the safety director retroactive to the beginning of this year, effective for the remainder of the term, do we have to put a number in there?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna motion to ask our attorney to draft legislation increasing the salary of the safety director such that the mayor's total compensation is $100,000, making that retroactive to the beginning of this year for the remainder of his term. And then anticipating that we address going forward between now and mid-2027.
Second.
Just a comment on
Go ahead.
that. I still don't feel like I have the right data to do this, so I'm going to no, just for that reason.
So to fill in the numbers, if you go with $100,000 number, the mayor's salary is $55,000. Safety director's salary is $27,500. To make it $100,000, it'd go from $27,500 to $44,000. 45.
17,500 is your number.
Don't let the law director do the math. I was told there'd be.
Well, and so what we're voting on right now is just to draft the ordinance with that number.
Yes.
To draft the legislation so that we can discuss it at that, I assume, next week or.
I can have it ready.
Do we have any more discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Ms. Swords?
Yes.
Mr. Modi?
No.
Ms. Godick?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
No.
Mr. Gentile?
No.
Colonel Rice?
Yes.
Okay, I will draft it.
Okay, that's, item 7 is done. I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Colonel.
Mayor.
We are back to mayor. Okay. A few things that
And
I'll,
actually have audience comments. That's
we have, are there more audience comments?
Yes, Richard Ferguson, 29200 Pittsdale Road. My comment's not as exciting as previous discussion. Going back to the garage floor ordinance, the proposed ordinance I saw the 50% 1,000-foot square feet was lined out, which I assume means it goes away, and the ordinance would only be 40% in the 2,500 square feet. Is that correct interpretation of ordinance, or are you keeping 1,000-foot minimum?
No, the 1,000 staying in there, 1,000 or 40%.
I thought that's lined out.
No, there is a line out through all of that. The proposed ordinance as drafted and is in 2026-23 is the maximum floor area of all garage spaces, including both attached and detached, shall not exceed 1,000 square feet or 40% of the gross livable floor area of the dwelling unit, whichever is greater, up to a maximum of 2,400 square feet.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I'm not hearing any. We'll move on to my comments. We had a wonderful, echoing Richard's comments earlier. We had a wonderful July 4th event. It was, I think, proof of concept. And we're gonna, right now, I anticipate we're gonna add it to our regimen of annual events, and we'll have another one next year. And now that we know that this actually can work, we will make it bigger and better as we do all of our events. Since we were last together, the Gates Mills Linear Park Phase 2 path is opened. It was receiving riders and walkers the day that the asphalt hardened enough to be on. And we still have the landscaping. A lot of it will not occur until later in the fall when the weather is 90 degrees outside. I had distributed to council, which I would commend for your reading, Cleveland Water's 2025 water quality report that I received last week. It's really a fascinating document when you get into it. It explains what the Division of Water does. It has been one of the most beneficial relationships that the city has established during my tenure. I was very proud to bring it to the city, and it has provided us with many millions of dollars of water line replacement and repair since it came in. And I just thought the wonderful work that the Cleveland Division of Water performs is worthwhile. I am proud to continue to serve as the president of the Cleveland Suburban Water COG and maintain that relationship with the Division of Water. I'm glad that they are here right now, replacing $1 trillion water line. We have, pursuant to council's authority at our last meeting, prepared and submitted the ODNR nature grant application for Pepper Pike Park. I want to thank Mr. Shee and his colleagues at Chagrin Valley Engineering for really outstanding work in assisting us in the preparation of that grant application. It reads really wonderfully, and I'm optimistic that maybe we'll have favorable consideration. I did, pursuant to council's aspiration at our last meeting, I have spoken with Susie Maurer of MKSK and communicated to her council's desire to have her engage on further consideration of Pepper Pike Park and any future development of it, and she'll undertake that task. That should be within my spending authority, so I'm just having her launch it.
Is she gonna do a study leading to a kind of master plan for the park, or what's kind of her remit for it?
Yeah, an evaluate, yeah, sort of, master plan's a big word.
I know.
But yeah,
but
an evaluation and recommendations as to what it could be, and there may be pretty pictures involved or not. I haven't gotten that far in my conversation with Susan.
she had a number of displays on her website
Right.
about small urban, not urban,
Yes,
like this, basically, and how to
Yeah.
maximize the space.
yes. I think the thing that we need to be cautious about is not eliminating the green open space, because that space is used for, events and things that occur during the summer. So we could build it all out, but it's at a cost.
No, I think we
There's
want to balance,
opportunity costs involved in eliminating the space.
we want to balance that out. Yeah.
And that's really about what I have for this evening. Council, you have anything to discuss? And then we're going to move to an executive session.
I had one thing, I was hoping to do it first, because I'm on 5% battery and the road's still down. This is just about, we brought this up a few times, and I wanted to bring it up again briefly to discuss further with the administration regarding digital tools that we can use to collaborate. We're finding this especially challenging on the communications committee. And so I understand that there's some amount of restriction in what we share, how we communicate, so that we adhere to sunshine laws. But I was looking into various governments that do use tools like Microsoft 365, Google Teams, SharePoint, tools that like we as a committee can get together in, not for the purpose of deliberation, but of like meeting agendas and who's going to take certain tasks to move the committee along. So I'd really like to explore what options we have in the toolkit that both are legally sound, but allow us to collaborate, because it's been implemented in many places and it's proving to be challenging, and also I think it's more risky that stuff is going out in maybe like emails or in drafts where we could actually have it consolidated in a place with proper retention.
Yes, and I understand the frustration of the creative deliberative process that is imposed on us because of sunshine laws and things like that, requiring meetings and open deliberation of things. I think it would be more effective as an organization, as committees, if you could do this. I don't disagree with that at all. I think the stumbling block is making sure we adhere to it. I will refer you to our able law director to further confer with. There are document retention issues, all those things, and I don't pretend that I know
Well,
how
how
to
does
maneuver
it fit
around
within
this.
the administration? If you guys have to collaborate on a document, what are you using
Collaborative
to do
planning
that?
tools, I mean, there's gotta be a way to do it. Every other single government entity and organization does collaborative planning, via SharePoint Teams.
When I go with
A whole
other
number of
cities, my
No, he's
efforts,
within our city.
my efforts are public records.
There's a distinction between what the administration does and what council and council's committees. Council and council's committees are public bodies. Public bodies have to comply with the Open Meetings Act. Everybody has to comply with the Public Records Act. So no matter what documents created, they will be public records, and they have to be retained and disposed of in accordance with the records retention schedule. But the mayor is not constrained from meeting with his administration via whatever medium is possible, because it's not a public body. Council and council's committees have to have their decision-making made in open meetings.
Well,
But
how
I'm
do we
just
get
asking for a
to
city
yes?
controlled
How do we get
place
to
to
yes,
not-
Steve? How do we get to yes? I mean, that's what we need from you right
And I
now.
know
is how
Cindy's
do we get to
committee was
yes?
struggling with the same thing, like we wanna have a backlog of tasks we're going to work through, that we don't need to decide necessarily right there, but just to get organized to move the committee forward. And it's been really handicapping us to move at the speed we want to.
When you get, during COVID, we had everything was online. And so, the public was invited, so kind of from the speed of, if we had an ordinance that allowed electronic meetings to which the public was always invited. I mean, if that's.
It's less about
That-
the meeting and more
that's
about
not
the
collaborative
in-between
planning.
meetings to collaborate to make the meetings as effective as possible.
Right.
Pre-meetings. or-
No, collaborative planning.
Yes.
So so in other words, there's a central document the communications committee's putting together a brief for the council or something. So members of the committee go in and it's on a SharePoint or on Teams, and members of the committee type in there, they go, and Melissa goes, well, you do paragraph 1, you do paragraph 2, and they type it in there, and it's all collaborative planning, and it's on the city's server,
Decisions are being, look, if decisions are being made, so does something get on the agenda or not? If it's decided not to put something on the agenda and there's no public discussion of that, that's a problem. That decision should be made in public. It's either made by the chair saying, this is my agenda, I'm running the meeting and I'll get the participation of the committee. You know, that's what the law requires.
What do you define as a decision?
That's right.
That's a great.
If the decision not to move forward with something because the committee in a collaborative document says they're not gonna do it.
More than the word decisions, the deliberation.
Yeah.
But couldn't we have a rule in place that, like, for communications, for example, that if I'm the committee chair, I'm the only one that's like drafting that agenda? Like, I feel like we could have rules in place, and I've done the research that other cities use collaborative tools to be able to effectively work together. I'm just trying to find more.
Send me that
effective ways.
information, I'm interested to see
Okay.
what they're doing. And the concern, of course, is they could be one complaint away from an Open Meetings Act violation. And you know, if I don't wanna say if all the other kids are running off the cliff, would you do it too? I don't know that they're running
Am I
off the
just
cliff, but I'm
supposed to,
interested.
I know, it's just getting frustrating with, like, am I supposed to be, I feel it's less secure to be printing out sheets to hand them out to people in the way that we're trying to communicate. So I, like, there has to be
Especially if
balance.
it's on a city Teams or SharePoint site, it's all, yeah, it's foyable and everybody, it's public access, okay, got it. So what?
The public records isn't the issue. That's not the issue. Assuming that all the drafts and all the iterations are retained, those are public records. We're fine with that, that's fine.
So let's say.
It's the deliberation, open meetings aspect where the stumble occurs. Send your information to Steve. Please let him evaluate.
Again,
If they've got a workaround that,
again,
we're not trying not to have it happen.
is the basic nature of these committees wrong? I mean, should they maybe not be council meeting committees? Is there a different kind of committee they could be and then they don't have?
Well, there's also case law that warns against trying to structure things so that you're avoiding the Open Meetings Act. The decisions of the council and the committees that lead to council decisions need to be made in open meetings. And the deliberations around the issues that are faced by the public bodies need to be made in meetings open to the public. If council passed an ordinance saying you want to do something via a Teams meeting, it's legal to do that. It's possible to do that. But you have to give notice, you have to keep minutes, you have to do all of the things that an open meeting is required under the law to do.
Can I say one thing? The mayor is effective in his role because he can work with his administration and just get shit done, okay, behind the scenes. We don't have that luxury in any of these committee meetings to do any work outside of that actual meeting. And
That's right, you're right, that's what your authority is.
Correct, I understand.
So the point of the exercise is that deliberations must occur in an open meeting unless there's an reason for an executive session, litigation, what have you. But yes, the answer is you must deliberate in public. They must see the conversation that occurs.
What if the deliberation happens? Yeah, and it captures all the version history, all the deliberations.
It's
in the electronic form.
no. The answer is no. The meeting must be open to the public. And there's case law that the famous case is when everybody was sending emails around to each other in Cincinnati. The school board was round robining their ideas in an email. And whether it's an email or, you know, Slack or what have you, doesn't matter.
They actually had physical meetings and they only invited a certain number.
I know you want to move on from this. I have one like tangible example I'm trying to understand. Take how I said in the communications committee, we were talking about bringing on an intern, right? So we decided like, hey, this is the scope. We did that publicly. There's minutes. It was on the agenda. All of that was followed. I would just like to store the version of what we're proposing this project plan be somewhere collectively that I can go back and reference it. And then we have another public meeting and I can add that. So there's like a backlog of information related to that topic.
That is the purpose of minutes, is to document the deliberation and decisions that are made by public body, and whether you had to post those online, I would keep a copy with Sheila. That's what the purpose of minutes is
Well,
to document
I'll
what
send
you
It's
did.
minutes, but it's beyond that, Mr. Byron. I think if I hear what the councilwoman is saying, is she's creating documents. She'd like sort of, it sounds like a license, you want a license for a 365 product in order to do things, right? So that's okay, that's a different conversation about
That is
securing
crux of it.
licensing for the software, right? And I don't know I have no idea what our available licenses are, or how we secure more. That is beyond my, but the gentleman in the blue shirt who's hiding behind the desk, he understands this stuff, and he can find out.
So you're just you're talking about records retention
Yeah,
system.
we're basically got a record retention.
Just ask.
Okay. If that is all for the council comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of acquiring and disposing of real estate and to discuss the security arrangements and emergency response protocols for a public body or a public office. As disclosure of the matters discussed could reasonably be expected to jeopardize the security of the public body or public office. Where's the rest?
That's it, that's, I just attached the other one.
Where's the other one?
That was the first one.
You read
Disclosure of
two.
real estate and discuss. the-
Oh, I said it in the
Yeah.
body. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I read too fast. I wasn't catching.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt,
Yes.
Ms. Swords? Yes. Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Ms. Godek?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yep.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Colonel Rice?
Yep.
I want to thank everyone for attending this evening here and online. The council will not be reconvening to discuss any public business following the executive session, so I bid you all farewell and have a good evening.
It's good to see you.
Just texted me, she said, I know.
Oh, I remember. Thank you.
So, the top two, I should have